Welcome to Truth by Billie Beene. Today's date, March 27, 2025, time in Texas, about 1 p.m. I have a subscribe button in the lower right corner of my screen. Thanks for like, subscribe, and share, and for hitting the like button. That helps my channel to grow. Some of the things we'll cover today: Texas, 15 inches of rain. President Trump takes the Treasury Department to digital. And rest in peace for U.S. military. And the Middle East is currently lighting up fuses. Some of my sources are God in the Bible, Patriot Subscriber, BORZIKKMAN, CRUX, Ryan Hall, Y'all, Texas Weather Center, Space Weather, Hal Turner, Western Journal, Tampa Free Press, Plus. So let's get started. We've been expecting a rain event to take place in Texas Wednesday through the weekend and into the central and northern eastern part of the U.S. Today's weather forecast. Yesterday, I watched Texas Weather Center, and predictions were in Texas from about Corpus, Victoria on 3 to 5 inches. Ryan Hall, Y'all, this morning. Weather patterns have changed overnight, and I relate that to the current activity hitting the earth from the sun. So there have been changes. We can now anticipate, this is Thursday through the weekend, historic flooding event, possibly life-threatening in Texas. 15 inches of rain is now being forecast, with as much as 3 to 5 inches per hour. So let's begin with the space event, which I believe is impacting weather earth patterns. We have a huge hole in the sun that's putting out solar wind that is going around the entire earth at 1.8 million miles per hour, generating a G1 to G2 geomagnetic storms, KP index of 5, but is already producing auroras in both hemispheres. I submit that this could be related to the weather pattern change overnight, taking us yesterday in Texas from a prediction of 3 to 5 inches today to 15 inches. So that's going on. Definitely flooding. And yes, in Texas and then the central U.S., heavy rain, particularly in South Texas. Ryan Hall, Y'all, weather. Historic, 15 inches of rain. Corpus, Victoria, on, and possibly 2 to 3 inches per hour. And that is to begin today and continue through the weekend. We have this from Suspicious Observers. Yesterday, we are tracking the movement of the North Pole in terms of its magnetic pulsing. We now see abnormal patterns of the Earth's magnetic pole. It's believed this is being impacted by the solar wind going completely around the Earth. Also, it is increasing the rotation of the Earth and taking us to our day being several seconds shorter. So that's going on. It's also generating more heat inside the Earth's core. And the pole shift, as I've brought out, and other people we have in history pole shift events where the north and south magnetic poles switch. They stop and then they switch polarity. And that is also being impacted with abnormal patterns. I submit the sun's impact on the earth is also contributing to this historic flooding event we see unfolding in Texas and other parts of the U.S. So that's going on. And now we have this. We have, yes, so we say rest in peace for U.S. military soldiers. So we have in the Ukraine, we have some things going on, and in the Middle East that are very curious. So we have Russia here, Belarus, Lithuania. The capital of Lithuania is Vilnius. And we have, I believe that's the 1st Brigade infantry group in Lithuania. I believe they're out of Georgia. And they were on a training situation about 6 miles inside Lithuania from the border with Belarus. This occurred Wednesday. We had 4 U.S. military soldiers disappear. They were in an armored vehicle. Now, all U.S. military equipment has trackers on it. So how is it the U.S. military lost track of an armored vehicle? That's definitely a question. Thursday, the 4 U.S. military soldiers whose rank and names have not been identified. This disappearance and death is under investigation. So they were found, so this actually happened Tuesday, and they were found Wednesday. Today's Thursday. And the U.S. military is not putting out what they normally say, that there has been a training accident and soldiers lost their lives. No. What they are saying about these 4 U.S. military who were found in a body of water, the armored vehicle was submerged. They were located in about a 24-hour period. But again, I raise this flag. Why did it take the U.S. military 24 hours to locate this vehicle? And what the U.S. military is saying is that these 4 U.S. military soldiers were killed. So the investigation goes on. And we have more questions than we have answers. But that is happening. And our hearts and prayers and thoughts go out to the family and friends of these 4 individuals who have yet to be identified. So that's going on. And now we have this. We have, President Trump, via Gateway Pundit, is talking about the judges. Okay, so we see President Trump, we see activist judges who are acting outside their constitutional authority. These are district judges appointed by Congress who only have power inside their districts. They have no authority and no power to issue a nationwide ruling that tries to take down or impact the executive branch. That would be President Trump. Congress has several avenues they can take. Congress has the power to impeach these judges. Congress has the power to take these judges off their bench. Congress has the power to do away with all district judges, because Congress appoints these judges and Congress oversees these judges. These judges putting forth rulings to impact the executive branch, President Trump and his executive orders, along with his Doge team. These judges do not have the authority nor power delegated to them by the Constitution nor by Congress. So that's going on, and we see several facing hearings, being charged with the possibility of being impeached. And now we have this from Reuters. So I put out, we saw a very tragic accident that was near Washington, D.C., January 29. We saw a collision between a U.S. military Black Hawk and an American Airlines Eagle. We had many people killed. I put out initially and ongoing that it appeared to me to be third-party interference with the software on the Black Hawk and on the American Eagle's plane and at the Ronald Reagan Air Control Center. This is now coming out. There was a third party. The third party equals the U.S. government. We had testing. Secret Service and the Navy, and they were testing a software interference system that interfered with the software on the Black Hawk, American Eagle plane, and the Ronald Reagan Air Control Center. And we have this coming out that Senator Ted Cruz, Republican Texas, heading up an investigation group, has put forth that it was the U.S. government testing via the Secret Service and the Navy. They were testing an anti-drone interference software, and their testing and the software caused this accident. So the third party guilty and the death of many, many people, January 29, Washington, D.C., was indeed the U.S. government and the U.S. military. There was, for real, third-party interference. And we have this from Steve Post's aggregate site, Wine Press. President Trump has signed an executive order, and Scott Bessent, President Trump's Secretary of Treasury, says this should have been done 25 to 30 years ago. So the executive order for the Treasury Department, they can no longer issue a cash payment, and that would have been in the form of a money order. That's out. They can no longer issue paper checks. That's out. They can only do digital payments, and that includes, paying the government's bills. It also includes things that impact American citizens like tax refunds. These payments from Treasury will only be done digitally, so they can be traced. And that means direct deposit to your bank account or direct deposit to a debit or credit card, or it can be to a digital wallet and other electronic payment methods. So this will cut down on fraud and waste, and will identify and track money from the U.S. Treasury to the recipient. So that's going on. And now we have this. Yeah. So who is aiding and abetting one of our chief adversaries? The CCP. That would be taking place in Minnesota under the governor, a Dem, Tim Walz. You know, he ran with KH as a vice president. Yeah, we understand he was a frequent visitor to certain islands, as was the current individual running for Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney. So the CCP is active in Minnesota and other Dem locations in the U.S. Z describes the CCP location in the U.S., and this would cover the one in Minnesota. They call it a magic weapon to take down the target location. In this case, it's Minnesota. And the CCP has an office in St. Paul, Minnesota, 10 minutes from the office of the governor. And the CCP location regularly raises money for the governor, the Dem of Minnesota. So Xi, the president of China, describes the CCP, their locations they put out in other nations, as magic weapons designed to undermine the target nation or location and to destroy their sovereignty and integrity. So that's going on in Minnesota. It's called a CCP home front. This is being reported by Reuters. And now we have this from the Western Journal. President Trump is going to take down Secret Service. Oh, okay. So President Trump, we've seen him taking away the intel clearance for many people, and also Secret Service protection. He's now taking away Secret Service protection for Hunter Biden, Ashley Biden, and their families. So that's going away. Now, we have this. We have from Tampa Free Press, President Trump signs a memo. And this is related to the FBI secret records called Crossfire Hurricane. And that's what the information that FBI put together about in President Trump's first formal term, Russia, that President Trump was in collusion with Russia. This was a deep state plot, primarily put together by the deep state players embedded in the FBI. The project is called Crossfire Hurricane. President Trump has ordered that all secret records be released. So that's going on. It involved the FBI, the CIA, and other individuals. So, yeah. Promises made, promises kept. President Trump promised the American people he would put out secret files. We have this from Stephen Gardner. President Trump has done 3 new orders, and with regard to Signalgate, that ploy, I submit, in my last video, I put out, President Trump, gotcha. I submit this Signalgate where President Trump's Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth and other cabinet members, Mike Waltz, were on a supposedly secret texting platform called Signal. It's an app for phones put forth by the U.S. government. They give U.S. government employees a phone, and on it they have already loaded this app, Signal. So at any rate, supposedly there was this secret texting about events to go off soon in the Middle East, and that accidentally a well-known anti-Trump journalist associated with the magazine Atlantic and the New York Times, Jeffrey Goldberg, he was accidentally added. I submit this was a ploy, and it certainly has burned up the media since this came to light Monday. They are still talking about it. President Trump, now an assessment of Signalgate, says that, nothing classified was revealed and lessons learned. But it's also coming out from other sources that prior to this so-called release, President Trump and his team knew that Signalgate was not a safe platform. I submit, President Trump, gotcha. And now we have this from Daily Mail. Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, puts this forth that Congress oversees the district courts and judges. Congress can eliminate these district judges, and the House gives warning to federal district court judges who are trying to illegally control the president and his constitutional executive branch powers. So that's going on. And now we have this. Yeah. So we have things, we see the Middle East about to light up. And we have a lot of U.S. military there. So we have Israel, we have Turkey, Syria. Let me redraw this map. We have Israel, Syria, because Syria's right has a coastline, and this is where there are Russian bases. We have Turkey, and we see Erdogan going full stop communist, as we've been seeing in Romania. Just recently, there's an upcoming election, presidential election in Turkey, and the mayor of Istanbul Turkey's largest city, very popular with the people, was going to run against Erdogan, so Erdogan just had him arrested. As we saw in Romania, where we had a people's choice, Colin Georgescu actually win the election. The deep state communist government of Romania said, no, we're not going to accept that election. We're going to have another one. But before Georgescu could register to be in the next election, they arrested him. We see in Romania, full stop communist move. We see the same thing in Turkey. Erdogan just simply arrested his political opponent. We would have seen that in the U.S. with President Trump. Goodness knows the Dems tried. The primary difference in Romania and Turkey and America is that in America, the American people are armed and organized in militias. And 80% of the American people, since the political coup we saw in 2020, are awake. Yeah, the last thing the deep state wants to do in America is rile up the American people. Now, they put forth these small little protests in America with protesters they pay. But trust me, the deep state doesn't want to go too far in their communist agenda in America because they truly do fear the American people. So they have a little bit of common sense. What do we see going on in the Middle East? Now, we've seen in Syria, we saw a takedown of Assad's government. We saw HTS, formerly Al-Qaeda, headed by al-Jolani. This group belonged to a fundamentalist fanatic sect of Islam, and they are euphemistically called head choppers, and they've been busy head chopping Christians, a cultural Syrian group, the Druze, also a sect of Islam called the Alawites, plus other minorities. So this terrorist group, al-Jolani, he had been named a terrorist in America, but JB took him off the list. And that's because apparently there was U.S. planning for the takedown of Assad. Then they put in place terrorists in charge of the Syrian government, the HTS, whose leader is al-Jolani. Al-Jolani's T group has been busy chopping heads in the last 7 days. Christians, Druze, Alawites, about 5,000 people in the last 7 days. Now they're acting against an unarmed civilian population who are located in this part of Syria near the coast and near the Russian military bases. And we have this. We have that Russia had offered refuge to 10,000 Alawites in the past week at their military bases. Now, in the last 2 to 3 days, Russia has taken control of 3 settlements outside the Russian military bases. President Putin has been called by Benjamin Netanyahu, the leader of Israel, and Erdogan, the leader of Turkey, stop doing this. Russia's stated plan is that they will extend the buffer area around the Russian military bases. So we see the Russian military push back against the U.S.-backed terrorist. So that's going on in Syria. Now we have this. So we have also the U.S. apparently getting ready to light up Iran. So we've got Israel, we've got Iran, we have Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Yemen. This is where the Houthis are. Now, it's believed that Iran has 3 proxy groups that have been attacking Israel. That would be Hamas, that would be Hezbollah in Lebanon, and that would be the Houthis in Yemen. It's believed and put forth by the U.S. government that Iran has 3 proxy groups attacking Israel: Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthi. Now, recently, there was a phone call, 2 hours and 28 minutes, between President Trump and President Putin. And they both agreed. So they agreed Iran should not be a threat to Israel. So that's going on. So we see Russia agreeing with the U.S. that Iran, and it's believed Iran still has some kind of to-do inside Syria. So that's going on. So we see President Trump, President Putin agreeing Iran should not be a threat to Israel. So now we see a huge buildup of U.S. forces and other nations. So we have Yemen, the Houthis, and we know for about 6 months or so, the Houthis have been firing on ships in the Red Sea and taking down global shipping. The Houthis say they are doing this in support of the Palestinian people, but they are taking down shipping. And no nation has the right to take down or impede global shipping under UN guidelines. Now, so we have the Houthis in Yemen. We now have in this area, this Middle East area, Red Sea, Mediterranean Sea, Persian Gulf. So we have the Persian Gulf over here. And we have this area called the Strait of Hormuz, where 25% of global oil travels. In the Strait of Hormuz, on 3 islands, Iran a few days ago put new types of weapons that was determined by satellite, and information went into the intel group, and I received it via Hal Turner's intel. So we see Iran setting up with new tech weapons on 3 islands near the Strait of Hormuz. We see the U.S. moving in. Some are already there. 4 carriers, the Truman, the Eisenhower, the Lincoln, and the Vincent. We see France bringing in a carrier, the De Gaulle. We see India bringing in a carrier, the Viv rant. Now, we see the U.S. also adding near, so we've got, we have Iran, India, we have a U.S. military base on an island called Diego Garcia, and we see in the past 5 days that move to Diego Garcia have been 7 to 8 B-2 stealth bombers. Now, the U.S. has only 19 working B-2 bombers. If they're taking 7 to 8 and moving them to Diego Garcia, and it's being reported 2 to 3 of the B-2s have to be stored outside. So it's anticipated, these are very expensive, sensitive planes. It's anticipated that action will take place soon. So in the past 3 to 5 days, we've seen 7 to 8 B-2 bombers going to an island, Diego Garcia, with a setup, according to most military analysts, to attack Iran and the Houthis in Yemen. Now we have this. We also have, so that's 7 to 8 B-2 bombers. We have 18 refuelers moving in this part of the world. They're being staged in the Pacific. We have several at Travis Air Force Base in California, several at Anoji in Hawaii, several at Anderson and on Guam Island. And it suggests there will be a large aircraft movement in the Pacific or Indian Ocean, Diego Garcia. We have also 7 C-17 planes moving to Diego Garcia in the last 3 days. They are moving from Whiteman in, it looks like Missouri, Dover in Delaware, and Fairchild in Washington State, and McGill in New Jersey. So we see 7 to 8 B-2 bombers, Diego Garcia, 18 refuelers being positioned in this part of the world, 7 C-17 large cargo planes that can also carry troops or equipment already going to Diego Garcia. So it's believed this is set up for the U.S. military to hit Iran and the Houthis. And now we have this. Hal Turner, this came out March 25. Due to limited space at Diego Garcia, the B-2s have space assigned to them only until May 1. But because 2 to 3 of the B-2s have to be stored outside, it's believed this attack on Iran and the Houthis will happen within days. We have this from Washington Examiner. Yeah, this is talking about the courts in the U.S. The appeals court has given Doge, President Trump's team, a win in the court, saying that Judge Chiang, he's another one of the rogue district judges, his order to maintain USAID is being barred by an appeals court. So that's going on. And now we have this from BORZIKKMAN that, yes, so I've already covered this about Russia taking up or giving refuge to the Alawites and other groups in Syria. So that's going on. And now I would say it's good to be in prayer for America, the U.S. military, President Trump, and for world peace. I love you, and I'll see you soon.